Hello students, I am Professor Veena Joshi. I teach in the Department of Geography, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. I am a geomorphologist and I have been teaching this course for the last 35 years. We will be doing today the fluvial part of geomorphology, and I hope and I believe that you will enjoy it. In the last lecture, we did plate tectonics, how the earth is composed of the blocks, lithospheric blocks, and how they have been moving apart and going towards each other, how the different landscapes are formed, how the earthquakes are formed, etc. Today we'll be coming out of the interior of the earth, out of the tectonics, and we will be doing today the effect of atmosphere, that is a part of erosion. Today in this talk, in this lecture, we will be doing first what is the meaning of fluvial or the river topography. We will begin with how the rivers are formed, in what way the rivers do the erosion, what are the different stages of erosion, at every stage what are the different landform a river creates, and ultimately what is base level or the ultimate level up to which a river can erode. River is one of the most predominant erosional processes in geomorphology, and we will be now focusing on the topics that I have set it to you right now. So let us start with the fluvial landscape or the work of the river. Of all the erosional agents that we have on the surface of the earth, one of the most predominant one is river. River is there everywhere. It is there in the equatorial area, it is there in the tropical area, in the temperate area, and it does a lot of erosion. The word river erosion also is used synonymously with fluvial erosion. So fluvial and river erosion is the same. Now let us see, before we actually study and discuss about the work of river, we need to understand some terminologies. The first one is, what is a drainage basin? Drainage stands for a watershed. A drainage is, it consists of a main river and the tributaries will come and join into it. The sub-tributaries will come and again join into it. The whole network will form a basin. A drainage basin will have, so it is actually river, tributary stream, water divide, valley, interfloops and outlet. So when I say water divide, a water divide is when rain falls into a landscape, all the rain will discharge into a system, but a part of that rain will fall into another system. This dividing line is what we call it as the drainage divide. And the best example that I can give it to you is of the Western Ghats. When the rain falls on Western Ghats, a part of that will fall in the Konkan region and a part of that will fall on the plateau region, and Western Ghat will be standing as the water divide. And a fluvial network composes of a main river and a tributary, and there are several other tributaries and sub-tributary. Together it will form a fluvial or drainage network or a river network. It is a very, very powerful agent of erosion. We can imagine here Brahmaputra river. Brahmaputra, the main Brahmaputra river has got huge Ganga, Yamuna, they are all the tributary. Those Ganga, Yamuna, they themselves have many other sub-tributary. Together it forms a fluvial network. This is another point which we need to remember. river and their tributary together arranged in certain pattern, we call it as the drainage pattern. These are some of the very common ones, that dendritic pattern, parallel pattern, rectangular, angular, radial, trellis or dendritic. Under a homogeneous condition, dendritic is the most common type. It is tree-like, just like a tree. A main trunk will be there and the tributaries will be joining it like the branches of a tree. But in the areas which are lithologically controlled, the rivers or the drainage will try to follow the pattern of the weakness, and then we have got rectangular drainage, centripetal drainage, trellage, radial, and we know that they are in an area where we have got joints and a fracture cross in 90 degree, we have got the rectangular pattern. Where there is homogeneity, we get the dendritic pattern. If there is a highland, like in case of a conical hill, the rivers will start from this and start flowing on all the direction, form into a radial pattern. Or if the area has got hard rock and soft rock parallel to each other, it will form straight line and 90 degree tributary. They are called as trellis. This is a dendritic pattern, the most common one, trellis pattern, then rectangular pattern. This is the centripetal and the radial pattern. These are the annual drainage pattern, which are formed many times by the subsidence of a conical hill. Another point here is, how do the rivers erode? So the fluvial landforms are shaped by two processes. One is the overland flow and one is the stream flow. When the rain falls, it will be flowing without any concentration on a street or a pavement or in a field. We call it as the overland flow. But when it is concentrated in the form of a channel, we call it as the stream flow. So this is how a stream flow is. Then river also erode in three ways: headward erosion, vertical erosion and the lateral erosion. This is called as the headward erosion, that the river will attack headward and it will extend and lengthen its course. These are all headward erosion, the actual example of headward erosion. This is called as the vertical erosion, that the river is cutting vertically, making it deeper and deeper, until one day the floor becomes flat. And then ultimately it becomes of very low energy. And the lateral erosion is when the river becomes very old. It does not have the energy to vertically cut, then it starts eroding from side to side, which we call it as the lateral erosion. Another point, rivers are normally divided into these three types: rivers which are flowing in the rock, rivers which are flowing in the alluvium, and semi-controlled. This is the whole of Maharashtra and the Western Ghat has got this kind of bedrock river. These are alluvial river. The northern part of India, the eastern part of India, where there are a lot of sediment, we have got the alluvial river. River profile, the work of the river. A river profile is the height, the elevation against the length. That profile is called as the longitudinal profile or a river profile. The starting point is called as the head, and the last portion is the mouth. Depending on whether the river is in a very youthful stage or in the mature stage or old stage, this longitudinal profile will show different characteristics. Every river will have roughly three zones. One is zone of erosion, one is zone of transportation, and the end is zone of deposition, which is very, very gentle slope. An example is when Brahmaputra river in the Himalayan region, it is doing a lot of erosion. So we call it as the zone of erosion. As it enters into the plain, it becomes mature. And finally, as it comes into the river, the sea, the base level, that is the zone of deposition, and the stream has got very less energy. Valley or river valley. Valley becomes wider with time and the valley walls become gentler in slope. This is a river valley. River valley is normally V-shaped. If they are in the youthful stage, the V will be very steep, but if they are in the old age, the V becomes gentle, but it is always V-shaped. River erodes in these four mechanism of river erosion: corrosion, corrosion, attrition, and the hydraulic action. Corrosion is erosion of bedrock of a stream channel by chemical reactions between solution in stream water and the mineral surface. Abrasion is erosion of bedrock of a stream channel by impact of particles carried in a stream and by rolling of larger fragments over the stream bed, or this is called as the grinding tools. The rocks which the river is carrying is crushed again, friction against the bed and bank, and it does the erosion which we call it as abrasion or corrosion. Attrition is the rocks or the material which is carried by the river will friction against each other, crush against each other as it is rolling down. They become smaller, smaller and finer, become sand and silt and get flushed away from the system. And the last one is the hydraulic action. The force of the water itself is so strong that it is doing a lot of erosion. That is the hydraulic action. River transported in this manner for solution due to the chemical weathering. The chemicals which are dissolved by the running water, that will be carried in solution, not visible. The very fine particles like silt or clay, they will be carried by suspension, they are hanging. The particles which are a little bigger, they cannot be carried by suspension, so they jump, which we call it as saltation, up and down. It will jump and it will come down. So in a saltation motion it moves. And bigger sediments, they are never lifted, they are just pushed on the floor, which we call it as traction or bed load. And the larger particles, the rivers do not move unless there is a flood or a high discharge. So the dissolved one, the suspension one, and the saltation one and the bed load together forms the stream load. So in a place like India or tropical areas, which is in the forested area where the high rainfall area, there are lot of solution and suspension material and less of bed load and vice versa. So now let us move on to the different stages of river. If we imagine a river to start from a mountain, runs all the way over the plain and enters and ends into the sea, ocean, this entire journey is divided into three parts: the youth, the mature, and the senile or the old age. So now let us study about river in its youth and what are the topography that it forms. Interlocking spur. In the mountainous area, the river is coming down. River is very small because the discharge is very less, but it will come in such a speed and it will create what we call it as the interlocking spur. One spur coming from here, another coming from here. River will be just winding on it. So interlocking spur. The longitudinal profile of this stage is the head part, means where the river starts in the mountainous area. One of the most important and one of the most common form a river creates at this stage is gorge, G-O-R-G-E, gorge. This is a deep V. All the rivers of Maharashtra, they are forming deep gorges because it is flowing in the rock and it has got very high energy. In the Himalayan areas, we find gorge. In the mountainous area, it is very, very common. Canyon is the second type of landform which is created by river, but this is bigger than the gorge. One of the best examples is Grand Canyon of Colorado in United States. Canyons are a lot deeper and bigger. They represent river in its very, very active stage or youthful stage. Sometimes they are found even in the plain areas due to the tectonic activities, not in the mountain, but still they are indicative of very, very energetic and a youthful stage of a river. The next one is the waterfall. Waterfall is very common. They are found in the mountainous areas as well as in the areas where there is hard and soft rock. All over the Western Ghats, we have got waterfalls during the monsoon. And waterfalls, one of the most cited and important one is the Niagara Fall. But we have got it here in Maharashtra as well, or anywhere else in the world. That waterfall is indicative of a feature of river in its youthful stage. There are several such examples. Next is the potholes. They are the circular features which are created by river at the neck points. Nighoj in Ahmednagar district of Maharashtra has got one such pothole. The picture is of that only. What happens is, at the neck point, the river is flowing with tremendously high speed. And here, if the rocks are composed of crisscross joints, the joints become larger and the sediments will go inside it and get trapped and go round and round to form the round potholes, and in due course of time, these potholes merge with each other to form a gorge. Next feature is the alluvial fan. When the river is flowing with lot of velocity in the mountainous area and suddenly it comes to the plain, so it loses its energy. So whatever the material that it was carrying, it just dumps at the foothill and it deposits a kind of a fan-shaped deposit, and they are there in all the mountainous areas whenever they come and meet at the plain. Bhabur and Ghaggar in Himalaya, we have got huge alluvial fan. Alluvial fan can be sometimes very small or sometimes it can be very, very large. They can be of different magnitudes, but they are invariably there whenever a mountain stream comes and meet at a plain area, and they are normally fan shaped and the finer particles are away and the coarser material are at the apex. Next is river enters into maturity. So when the river was in the youthful stage, it has got lots of energy to undercut and it forms gorge, waterfall, neck point and potholes, etc. But once it comes and starts flowing on the plain area, it has already lost its youthfulness because the slope has become very gentle. That is the stage which we call it as river is entering into maturity now. And as the river starts maturing, there is a concept of grade which is very, very important for students to understand. So now we are going to look at the second stage of the river, that the river is entering into the mature stage. It is the middle part of the longitudinal profile that we are looking at. So now The river is not as strong as how it was, but it is not that old either. It is somewhere in between. So, its destructiveness or the erosive power has got reduced, but it is not that old enough to deposit everything. So, in a situation like this, what it does is it tries to create a graded profile. A graded profile is originally any landscape, original landscape, it is composed of lot of irregularity or ruggedness. Slowly the river will start building a slope which is not exactly gentle, it is an equable slope. Wherever the slope is more, it will try to cut. Wherever it is less, it will try to fill, and it will build a slope which we call it as the graded slope. That means when the river is entering into this stage, it is a stage of equilibrium. It does not have that much of energy to erode, and therefore it is a non-erosive stage. And also it is not that old enough to deposit, so it is non-depositional stage. So whatever is the sediment which comes from the upstream area, it just transfers. Or in other words, it is a stage of equilibrium where energy supplied is equivalent to work done. I'll give you a very, very simple example. Like, it is almost like I earn 10,000 rupees a month and my expenditure is 10,000 rupees a month. It is as simple as that. I don't have anything of surplus, so no deposition. I do not owe anybody, anyone, because my expenditure is not 15,000. So it's a very simple example that I'm giving, that whatever is the energy the river is having right now is exactly equal to the capability of it transferring. This stage is called as the mature stage or the graded stage. So when river enters into this stage or mature stage, the first thing that it does is it forms a floodplain and river starts meandering. Till about now the river was having such a lot of energy that it was coming almost straight from the mountain, but the moment it hits the plain, it has lost its energy. It will start meandering. As it meanders, it will start creating floodplain on either side of it. A floodplain also can be defined as during the flood, water starts overflowing and it flows on either side carrying the sediment, and when the flood recedes, water comes down. So every time flood occurs, it carries the sediment and deposit on either side of it, creating fertile floodplain. And river meandering is also one of the factors, a picture of river meandering in the floodplain. When a straight river automatically will start meandering, and when it meanders, it creates a thalweg, or instead of going straight, river starts winding like this. As it starts winding, it will be eroding on one bank, depositing on another bank, creating riffle and pull. As the time goes, the loop becomes deeper and deeper. We can see it very, very easily. And a day comes that it just cuts off. So these are some of the floodplain features: bluff, natural levee, back swamp, Yazoo stream and Oxbow lakes. One by one, let us see it. It's a meandering river. A meandering river has got one very important characteristic, that as the river is flowing, it will target and hit one bank. We call it as the outer bank. The opposite side of that bank is the inner bank. So erosion in the outer bank, exactly at the same time deposition at the inner bank, which gives rise to the loop becoming deeper and deeper with time. And we see plenty of such kind of pictures in internet also. But in Maharashtra we don't have it. I'm repeating it once again because river meandering happens in the alluvial areas like in Ganga plain or in the northern part of India, but on the Deccan Trap the rivers do not meander and make floodplain. It is all bedrock channels. So river is depositing sediment in the inner bank, which we call it as the point bar deposit. The inner bank is gentler in slope, whereas the outer bank is steeper because the river is targeting its erosion on that. In due course of time, the loop will become deeper and deeper, and one day a cutoff is going to happen. During this, it will also create two things. Wherever the river is targeting at the outer bank, pools will be formed, and in between one pool to the another, the deposition of the coarser sediment, and it is called as riffle. When the water dries, we can see it very, very clearly that all the outer bank will have deeper pools. In between we have got a mound. So if we walk around all along the meander, we will find this riffle and pool sequence. This is another feature. Then it starts cutting off. Oxbow Lake we call it. From the school times we have been learning it. As the meander becomes deeper and deeper, a day comes that the neck meets. A self-explanatory diagram before you. So the river becomes so deep that these two loop will meet and the river will take the shorter course and leave behind the cut-off portion as the Oxbow Lake. And Oxbow Lake is a very, very common feature in all of these floodplain areas. There are several such pictures and examples, and these floodplains are very fertile, alluvial, but if flood comes then it will take away all the crops. Meander scrolls. As the meander loop is becoming deeper and deeper, it leaves behind a scar. That scar is what we call it as the meander scroll. Another thing is levee. Levee, I will explain it this way, that a flood is there. When the flood is there, river will be coming and flowing on both the sides, and it will carry with it sediments. And the coarser one will be, and as soon as the water comes here, spread on either side, it will lose its energy, because till about now it was flowing in a confined space, and now it is coming and spreading on an open space. It will start dumping or it will start depositing. But it will deposit in such a way that immediately at the bank, the coarser material will be deposited, and away from that the finer one. Once the flood is over, river will come back again. When this process is repeated again and again, a day comes that on these two banks, a natural deposit of coarser material for a long stretch, which we call it as natural levees. They are very common. It's there everywhere. Some pictures that we can see it in the. It's not very easy to identify this. You really need to have a lot of field experience in order to identify this. A Yazoo stream. A Yazoo stream is a stream which is running parallel, a tributary which is running parallel to the main river in a floodplain is called as the Yazoo stream. A Yazoo stream is formed when? It can be natural or man-made levee. So, this is a river with the levees formed, and when the flood water tries to come back, the levee is stopping it. So it is running parallel to it until it finds a breach and joins it. So in many of the floodplains, we will find tributaries running exactly parallel to the main river for maybe 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, 3 kilometer, any distance until it joins. This is also a very interesting feature. So these are the floodplain features. Another point I am coming into right now, that is channel type, not the drainage type that we talked about earlier. There are three types of channel. In fact, four types. One is a straight channel, but straight channel, no river is actually that straight. So let us remove it for the time being. There are three types. One is called as the braided channel. River has got multi-thread channel. So not one single thread, but many. So a braided channel, and such kind of braided channels are formed when the river is carrying a lot of sediment and unable to carry it, and it just dumps. Braided channels are very common in alluvial rivers, Ganga river, Yamuna river, and Hooghly river or Brahmaputra river has got lots of this braided channel, once again not in Deccan Trap or in Maharashtra. This is a satellite image of Brahmaputra, the braided system. So many threads. Anabranching or anastomosing channel, this is another type. Here also it is multi-threaded. But what is the difference? In case of the previous one, those channels didn't have a defined bank. Every time it starts shifting. Whereas in case of anabranching, they are threaded, but it is permanent. Such kind of channel are called as anabranching or anatomosing. This is a satellite image of that. Then Ganga Delta. Before we come to the last 3-4 minutes, I will tell you a very interesting and important thing. This is called as the stream rejuvenation. We already learned that river starts behaving differently at the different stages. In the youthful area, it starts behaving differently, creates different landscape. In the mature sector, it behaves differently and it creates different landscape. But sometimes a river, after it has already become mature, can be rejuvenated if tectonic comes or climate change comes. I'll give you an example like this. That today here we are in a plain area. The rivers are not that strong. They are quite okay and mature. But tomorrow, if due to an earthquake, if the whole of this region is uplifted, what is going to happen? All these rivers will be rejuvenated once again and it will become youthful again. That is what we call it as a stream rejuvenation, which happens all the time. Because one thing which you need to understand in geomorphology is this. We are looking at all these landscapes which are millions of years old. There's nobody to tell us how they were created, because it is way beyond the human history, and therefore we have to look at the features to interpret them. It's a forensic science. And if I am looking at 5 million years, in the lifetime of 5 million years or 10 million years, a river is flowing. We already did plate tectonics yesterday. We know that no landscape is sitting stable. Tectonic activity is happening all the time. So in a situation like this, a river is not going to slowly follow all this system very obediently. It is going to break. Such kind of breaks is what we call it as stream rejuvenation. Stream rejuvenation can occur because of a high rainfall change also, but mostly tectonic. Now let us see which are those features. This is called as the incised or entrenched meander. We already know that a river starts meandering when it is in the floodplain. That means river has already entered into a mature stage or maturity. So if a river is meandering, it means that it is not in the youthful stage. It is in the mature stage. It cannot undercut. But here is a picture before us that the river is meandering as well as undercutting. What does it mean? This is the signature of stream rejuvenation. Already the river was flowing in a floodplain, and then a tectonic activity comes and the whole thing has got lifted up. The river is undercutting now because a very important concept. river will erode until it reaches the base level. Ultimate base level is the sea level. So as long as there is slope of this land and base level, river is going to cut. So now the river was like this. Suddenly the land is thrown up. Now look at the change in the slope now. Suddenly it has got lots of energy, so the river is undercutting again. So within the meander, it is undercutting, creating 500 meter of fall of slope. These are called as the entrenched meanders, and such kind of features you will find in all the rocky landscape where it is tectonically active, and Western Ghat is one of them. The second signature is the river terrace. As the tectonic activity throws the land up, each time the river abandons the original level and it undercuts again, creating different steps. River terrace. So let us say a tectonic river is going up, so it has got its own floodplain now. The moment tectonic activity comes, it's going to once again undercut, leaving behind the original surface at some higher point, and you get step after step. They are called as terraces. They are indicative of stream rejuvenation again. And sometimes if the tectonic activity is very recent, you can find them very clearly, but if it is very old activity, they are eroded and it is not that easy to identify them in the field, but they are indicative and they are there everywhere. The next one is the Nick Point. What is Nick Point? Once again, Nick Point, Randha Fall, here Jog Fall, Western Ghat has got plenty of them because it is tectonically active as well as rock. A river is flowing. Already I told you that a river will always try to find an equilibrium and a graded profile. So right now it is very happily adjusting to whatever is the base level that it is draining into. Again a tectonic activity. A tectonic activity comes somewhere here and suddenly breaks this profile and create a Nick Point. So this waterfall, or this is what we call it as the Nick Point. This Nick Point will recede in due course of time. It will go behind until one day the river is going to once again create a graded profile, but it will take a lot of time. As well as it may not happen also because every time the disturbance is happening. So Nick Points and students of Maharashtra do not need to go very far to go and see these Nick Points. It is there everywhere. Now we have come to the end of the journey. We are entering into the last stage where river is entering into the mouth. That means it is entering into the sea. So now as the river by now has got no energy to erode, but it is carrying a lot of sediment with it because discharge is a lot. So let us imagine Brahmaputra river is entering into Bengal. How huge is the river? It is beyond your imagination. It's like Samudra, it is like sea. And Brahmaputra is called as the accident of nature. No river in the world is as huge as this. So as it enters into the sea, it looks almost like a sea. It is so senile. Here I am going to take a minute and explain to you a very, very important point which will be useful for your next year for specialization. Competence and capacity. River's competence means ability to erode is dependent on slope, whereas river's capacity to carry load is dependent on its discharge. So they are two different things. It is like a 15-year-old boy can do a lot of better, or say 20-year boy can do a better work, can break stones, but if I put another 50 old people, sum total work will be more for the old people, right? But single, that boy has done more work. So if you look at the manpower, 50 people has broken a bigger stone and one person has got smaller stone. It's like that. So river becomes not competent, but it has got enormous capacity to carry load. And that is what happens, and it creates delta. Delta, it is entering into the sea and it is creating a fan shape deposition, which we call it as delta. And one of the largest that we have is Ganga Brahmaputra delta. The western rivers of India do not create delta because there is no sediment. These are all rock. All the rivers start from Western Ghat. Very quickly it comes and drains into the ocean, and therefore it does not have any sediment to form delta, as well as they are very, very speedy and velocity is high. Whereas the rivers which drain into the eastern coast of India, they come thousands, hundreds and thousands of miles. They become very old, carry lot of sediment, and by the time they enter into the sea, they form delta. So delta, and another thing is estuary. An estuary is like a river is entering into an ocean without creating a delta. And all the Konkan rivers are like that, only Vashishti river. So a river, because the delta has not formed, it is entering into the sea just like that only. So during the high tide, the river will start flowing ulta in the opposite direction for some distance. When the low tide comes, it will flow like this. So this portion is what we call it as the estuary. So estuary and delta are two such features river form as they enter into the ocean. This is a picture of an estuary and the delta. So finally, I will give you the points that I talked about. I am going to summarize. Rivers vary greatly from source to mouth and between the rivers. Form and shape of the river can be transformed overnight by a single large flood. Rivers are dynamic, adjust morphology spatially and temporary. Rivers shape the landscape. Rivers are a resource as well as threat to human. Thank you. So now let us summarize what we have learned in this chapter. We started with what is the drainage basin, what are the different parameters, what is the water divide, and then we came to the river valley profile. Then we also discussed mechanism of erosion, corrosion, abrasion and hydraulic action. We also studied how the river transport its load, that is suspension, solution and traction and saltation. Then we came to river in their different stages and what are the different landscape that it creates. And finally we came to what happens when the river is rejuvenated and river enters into the sea and ends its journey. One last sentence. This is a very generalized picture. In reality, we will not find a single river in the world who is happily following this sequence, because the journey is of millions of years and in between so many disturbances come. Once again river starts its cycle all over. That makes geomorphology one of the most interesting and challenging subjects in the world. In the next chapter, we will be seeing now how glaciers do erode. What is the process of glacial erosion? What are the different stages of glacier? What are the landforms that it creates? And what is an ice age? Glaciers are formed not everywhere on the earth. They are formed in either the polar area or on the top of the snowline mountains. An altogether different morphological process is happening over here. That is what we are going to see in the next talk or next chapter, that we call it as the glacial process and the landforms.